The massive hangar bay of Space Station Delta 7 held many secrets, but none quite as mysterious as Bay 42. For 50 years, the sleek silver Starship inside had remained silent, refusing to respond to any attempts at activation. The ship's smooth, curved hull reflected the harsh station lights, its design unlike anything else in the known galaxy. Captain Tom Walker stood before the vessel, his weathered face showing both exhaustion and curiosity. As the station's new head of security, he had read all the reports about the mysterious ship. Hundreds of pilots from 30 different species had tried to awaken its systems. Advanced AI interfaces, neural links, and even the most sophisticated quantum computers had failed to establish any connection. "Another inspection, Captain?" asked Mike Rogers, the chief engineer, joining Tom at the observation deck. His tool belt clinked as he walked, and his gray overalls were stained with engine grease. "Something about this ship keeps drawing me back," Tom admitted, running his hand through his graying hair. "Have you ever seen anything like it?" Mike shook his head. "Never. The metal alone is unlike any alloy we've encountered. And the internal layout." He paused, checking his tablet. "Well, that's the strange part. The cockpit is perfectly sized for a human pilot. The controls, the seat, even the life support systems, they're all compatible with human physiology." The discovery had sparked endless debates among the station's scientific community. Why would an advanced alien vessel be designed with human measurements in mind? The ship's origin remained a mystery, as no known civilization claimed responsibility for its construction. Tom stepped closer to the observation window, his reflection merging with the ship's gleaming surface. "What if?" he began, then stopped himself. The idea forming in his mind seemed too simple, too obvious. Surely someone must have tried it already. "What if what?" Mike asked, raising an eyebrow. "What if we've been overthinking this?" Tom turned to face the engineer. "We've tried every advanced method we know, but has anyone just sat in the cockpit and tried to fly it like a regular ship?" Mike blinked, then quickly consulted his tablet, scrolling through years of test records. That's actually impossible," he muttered. "In all these years, no one has attempted basic manual piloting. Everyone assumed the ship required some sort of advanced interface." Tom's heart began to race. Throughout his 20-year career in space, he had piloted everything from small shuttles to massive cargo haulers. The old-fashioned way, with physical controls and a pilot's intuition. "Get me clearance," he said, his voice firm with determination. "I want to try something that everyone else has been too sophisticated to consider." As Mike hurried off to arrange the necessary permissions, Tom kept his eyes fixed on the mysterious vessel. For the first time in 50 years, the ship seemed to gleam just a little brighter, as if responding to an unspoken connection with its first potential human pilot. The stage was set for what would either be another failed attempt at unlocking the ship's secrets, or the beginning of humanity's greatest adventure among the stars. The next morning, Bay 42 buzzed with activity. Word had spread quickly through Space Station Delta 7 about Captain Tom Walker's unusual request. Scientists, engineers, and curious onlookers gathered behind the safety barriers, whispering among themselves as Tom approached the ship in a standard pressure suit. "Remember," Mike said, adjusting Tom's helmet, "we've got emergency teams standing by. If anything feels wrong, just say the word and we'll pull you out." His voice carried genuine concern for his friend. Tom nodded, his boots echoing against the metal floor as he walked toward the ship's entrance. 50 years of failed attempts had taught them one thing: the ship's hull would open automatically for anyone who approached. It was what happened next that had stumped every expert in the galaxy. As Tom neared, a seamless door appeared in the smooth silver surface, splitting apart without a sound. The interior lights activated, casting a warm, welcoming glow. So far, everything followed the familiar pattern. Hundreds before him had made it this far. The cockpit looked exactly like the scans had shown, a single pilot's chair surrounded by controls that could have been lifted from any human spacecraft. The only difference was the level of sophistication in their design. Everything seemed more elegant, more refined. Tom settled into the pilot's chair, surprised by how perfectly it fit his form. The material adjusted to his body, providing ideal support at every point. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. Commencing basic pilot interface test, he spoke into his helmet mic, knowing the entire station was probably listening. No neural links, no AI assistance. Just flying. His hands reached for the controls, simple stick and throttle configurations that any pilot would recognize. The moment his fingers wrapped around them, something changed. A soft hum filled the cockpit, and the displays around him flickered to life with a blue glow. It's responding," Tom whispered, watching in amazement as system after system came online. Information began flowing across the screens in perfectly legible English. "Everything's in our language. It's like it was waiting for us." Outside, the gathered crowd gasped as the ship's exterior began to pulse with a gentle light. Patterns of energy danced across its surface, and a low, pleasant tone resonated through the hangar. "Tom." Mike's excited voice crackled through the comm, "We're getting readings we've never seen before. The power source just activated, it's like nothing in our database." But Tom barely heard him. His attention was captured by a message appearing on the main screen. "Welcome, human pilot. Genetic profile confirmed. Initiating first contact protocol." A holographic display materialized in front of him, showing a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. A single point of light pulsed invitingly, marking a location far beyond known space. "I think," Tom said slowly, his voice filled with wonder, "I think it wants to take us somewhere. This ship, it wasn't abandoned here. It was waiting. Waiting for the right pilot." As if confirming his words, new text appeared. "Your species is ready. Guidance protocol activated. Shall we begin?" Tom's hand hovered over what appeared to be an acceptance control, his heart pounding with the weight of the moment. After 50 years of mystery, humanity stood on the brink of what could be its greatest journey. And somehow, he, Tom Walker, a simple human pilot, held the key to unlocking it all. The ship hummed patiently, awaiting his response, while the entire station held its breath in anticipation of what would happen next. The next 12 hours on Space Station Delta 7 were the busiest in its history. Emergency meetings filled every conference room as station leaders debated what to do about the activated ship and its mysterious invitation. Tom sat in the main conference room, still wearing his pressure suit minus the helmet. The ship had powered down to standby mode but remained responsive to his presence. On the large screen behind him, recordings of his experience played on loop for the gathered officials. "This is far beyond our jurisdiction," stated Director Williams, a tall woman with sharp features. "We need to contact Earth Command immediately." She stood at the head of the table, her hands clasped behind her back. "With all due respect," Mike interrupted, spreading out his sensor readings on the table's display, "this ship's power readings are off the charts. Its technology could advance humanity by centuries. We can't risk losing this opportunity." The room erupted in heated discussion. Some argued for caution, others for immediate action. Tom remained quiet, his mind still processing the events in the cockpit. He could still feel the ship's controls under his fingers, that perfect connection between pilot and vessel. A loud bang silenced the room as Director Williams slammed her hand on the table. "Enough. Captain Walker, this ship responded to you. What's your assessment of the situation?" Tom stood slowly, looking each person in the eye before speaking. "In 20 years of flying, I've learned one thing: trust your instincts. This ship, it wasn't designed to harm us. Everything about it is meant to make humans comfortable, from the controls to the life support systems. It's like He paused, searching for the right words. It's like finding a key that fits a lock you didn't even know existed. The room fell silent as a new message appeared on all screens. Time is of essence. The journey must begin within 24 Earth hours. Coordinates locked. Awaiting pilot confirmation. 24 hours? Director Williams whispered. That's not enough time for proper protocols. Maybe that's the point, Tom replied, straightening his back. Maybe this is a test. Not just of our technology or our capabilities, but of our ability to take chances. To trust our instincts. Mike stepped forward, his tablet displaying new data. The ship's systems are fully compatible with our equipment. Life support, navigation, everything checks out. It's almost like it was custom-built for human use. He looked at Tom. If we're going to do this, I want to go too. You'll need an engineer. Tom nodded gratefully, then turned to Director Williams. Ma'am, requesting permission to pilot this vessel to its programmed coordinates. With your approval, Engineer Rogers and I will represent humanity on this first contact mission. The director paced the room, her footsteps echoing in the tense silence. Finally, she stopped and faced the window, looking out at the mysterious ship in Bay 42. The politics of this will be a nightmare, she muttered, then turned back to face them. But sometimes leadership means taking calculated risks. You have 12 hours to prepare. After that, you're on your own until you clear the station's communication range. As the room burst into activity, with people rushing to prepare for the unprecedented mission, Tom felt a strange calm settle over him. Through the window, he could see the ship's hull pulsing gently, as if eager to begin its journey. Ready for this? Mike asked, already making lists of supplies they'd need. Tom smiled, his eyes fixed on the vessel that had chosen him. You know what's crazy? I've never been more ready for anything in my life. The next 12 hours would determine not just their fate, but possibly the future of human exploration in the galaxy. The mysterious ship had waited 50 years for the right pilot, now it was time to discover why. The final hour before departure turned Space Station Delta 7's Bay 42 into a whirlwind of activity. Supply crates moved in a steady stream into the ship's cargo hold, which seemed to expand effortlessly to accommodate everything they brought. Tom and Mike had packed enough supplies for a month-long journey, though the ship's navigational system suggested their destination was only 3 days away. Final systems check complete, Mike announced, his voice echoing through the ship's corridors. He emerged from the engine room, looking both excited and nervous. You won't believe this, Tom. The ship's actually teaching me about its systems. Every time I look at something new, detailed schematics appear in English. Tom nodded, not surprised. Since their decision to accept the mission, the ship had become increasingly responsive. New rooms had appeared, including comfortable sleeping quarters and a fully stocked medical bay. It was as if the vessel was adapting itself to ensure its human crew's comfort and safety. Departure in 30 minutes, the station's AI announced over the speakers. The observation deck was packed with people, all eager to witness this historic moment. Director Williams approached Tom and Mike as they did their final suit checks. Earth Command is unhappy about the rushed timeline, she said, managing a small smile. But they're even more unhappy about the idea of losing access to this technology. You have full authorization to proceed. She handed them each a small data chip. These contain messages from your families. We managed to get brief communications through to Earth. Her expression softened. Whatever you find out there, remember you're carrying humanity's hopes with you. The ship's interior lights pulsed gently, reminding them of the countdown. Tom and Mike said their final goodbyes and entered the vessel. As they settled into their positions, Tom in the pilot's seat and Mike at the engineering station, the ship's systems came alive with a warm, welcoming hum. Station control to mystery vessel, a voice crackled over the radio. You are cleared for departure in Sector 7. Please confirm readiness. Tom placed his hands on the controls, feeling that now familiar connection. The ship's displays lit up with a new message. Launch sequence initiated. Human crew confirmed. Engaging propulsion systems. Prepare for new form of travel. New form of travel? Mike read aloud, checking his instruments. Tom, these energy readings, they're like nothing I've ever seen. It's as if the ship is creating its own space-time bubble. Before Tom could respond, the hangar bay doors began to open, revealing the star-filled expanse of space. The ship lifted smoothly off the deck, hovering as if weightless. No conventional engines fired, instead, a soft blue glow enveloped the entire vessel. Mystery vessel, you are go for launch, station control announced. Good luck, and Godspeed. Tom took a deep breath and gently pushed the controls forward. The ship responded perfectly, gliding out of the hangar with impossible grace. As they cleared the station's immediate space, the blue glow intensified. Conventional space travel protocols disengaged. Preparing for jump. Brace for dimensional shift. Dimensional shift? Mike's eyes widened as he read the display. Tom, I don't think we're going to be traveling like normal ships do. The stars around them began to blur, and a sensation like gentle waves washed over them. The ship's hull hummed with power, and the space ahead seemed to fold in on itself, creating what looked like a tunnel of pure light. Well, Tom said, gripping his controls firmly, I guess we're about to find out why this ship waited 50 years for a human pilot. As Station Delta 7 disappeared behind them, the mysterious vessel carried its human crew toward an adventure that would change humanity's understanding of the universe forever. The tunnel of light surrounded their ship like a living stream of energy. Tom and Mike had been traveling for 6 hours, though time seemed to flow differently in this strange space. The normal darkness of space had been replaced by swirling patterns of blue and white light that danced across their view screen. According to these readings, Mike said from his engineering station, we're moving faster than any recorded human vessel. But there's no sense of acceleration, no stress on the hull. He shook his head in wonder. It's like we're sliding between the normal layers of space. Tom nodded, his hands resting lightly on the controls. The ship barely needed guidance in this strange dimension, but it seemed to appreciate his touch. New information constantly appeared on his screens, teaching him about this advanced form of travel. Suddenly, a soft chime echoed through the cockpit, and a new message appeared. Approaching first waypoint. Prepare for dimensional shift pause. Human crew requires rest period. The swirling lights began to fade, and the ship smoothly transitioned back into normal space. A massive gas giant appeared before them, its swirling purple clouds unlike anything in known space. 3 moons orbited the planet, one of them glowing with a strange, artificial light. That's our rest stop, Tom said, pointing to the glowing moon. The ship was already adjusting its course, heading toward what appeared to be a docking station embedded in the moon's surface. Looks like whoever left this ship also left some infrastructure out here. As they approached the moon, they could see the true scale of the facility. It was enormous, clearly designed to accommodate thousands of ships. But it stood completely empty, waiting just for them. Tom, Mike called out, his voice tense with excitement, I'm picking up energy signatures similar to our ship. This whole facility, it's built with the same technology. And look, the atmospheric readings are perfect for humans. Exactly the same as Earth's. The ship guided itself into a docking port that seemed designed specifically for it. As the airlock sealed and the station's gravity engaged, another message appeared. Rest facility activated. 8 Earth hours recommended. Historical database available. Proceed to central chamber. Tom and Mike exchanged glances. After 6 hours of watching space bend around them, the idea of solid ground and answers was appealing. They performed basic safety checks, then made their way to the station's entrance. The facility's doors opened at their approach, just like the ship had. Clean, well-lit corridors led them toward the center of the station. The architecture was both alien and familiar, everything sized perfectly for human use. "It's like finding a hotel in the middle of nowhere," Mike commented, running his scanner over the walls. A hotel built by someone who knew exactly what humans would need, right down to the air pressure. They reached the central chamber, a massive circular room with a holographic display in its center. As they entered, the display activated, showing a three-dimensional image of what appeared to be a timeline. "Welcome to Waypoint Alpha. Ready to begin historical briefing. Learn why you were chosen." Finally, Tom breathed, stepping closer to the display. "We're about to find out why this ship waited for humans." As the hologram began to shift and change, showing images from what appeared to be an ancient civilization, both men stood in awe. They were about to learn secrets that would reshape humanity's understanding of its place in the universe, and their role in what was to come. The empty station hummed quietly around them, its systems running perfectly after what must have been centuries of waiting, all for this moment when humans would finally arrive to hear its story. The holographic display filled the central chamber with images of a civilization at its peak. Massive cities floated in the sky, ships similar to theirs traveled between stars, and beings that looked remarkably human went about their lives. But there was something different about them, they seemed to glow with an inner light. "We were called the Luminars," a gentle voice emanated from the station's systems, speaking perfect English. "And you, humans of Earth, are our descendants." Tom and Mike stood transfixed as the story unfolded before them. The Luminars had been an advanced civilization that had mastered both technology and the powers of their own minds. They could manipulate energy with their thoughts, travel through space with their will, and create wonders beyond imagination. "But we grew too powerful, too quickly," the voice continued, as the images showed a devastating war. "A faction of our people wanted to use our powers to control other races. The war that followed nearly destroyed everything." The hologram shifted to show the Luminars making a desperate decision. They would split their civilization into two paths. One group would hide their powers, plant themselves on a young Earth, and start over, becoming what would eventually be the human race. The other group would go into deep sleep in another dimension, waiting for the day their descendants were ready to reclaim their heritage. "Your natural ability to connect with this ship," the voice explained, as images of the vessel appeared. "It's because it was built using the same energy that flows in your blood, the dormant power of your ancestors. You feel the connection because, in a way, this ship is part of you." Mike's scanner clattered to the floor. "That's why the ship only responds to human pilots," he whispered. "We're not just random survivors they chose to help. We're their children." The hologram showed the final days of the war, as the Luminars created a network of ships and stations, including this waypoint. All designed to activate only when humanity had reached the right level of development. "But why now?" Tom asked, his voice echoing in the chamber. "Why wait until this specific moment in history?" The station's AI responded by displaying a complex diagram of human DNA alongside energy patterns that matched the ship's propulsion system. "Your species stands at a crossroads," the voice explained. "In the next 100 years, you will either destroy yourselves as we nearly did, or transcend your current limitations. We left these ships as guides, to help you choose the right path." New images appeared, showing a hidden planet where the sleeping Luminars waited. "Your test is not just learning to fly the ship," the voice continued. "It's proving that humanity can handle great power with wisdom and restraint. By choosing a simple pilot who trusts his instincts over more aggressive or technologically advanced options, you have already shown promise." Tom felt the weight of this revelation settling on his shoulders. He wasn't just a pilot anymore, he was the bridge between humanity's past and its potential future. The ship hadn't just been waiting for any human pilot, it had been waiting for someone who would use its power responsibly. "Rest now," the voice said softly. "When you wake, the final leg of your journey will begin. At its end, you will meet your ancestors and begin learning the truth of your heritage. The future of both our peoples depends on what happens next." As the hologram faded, Tom and Mike stood in stunned silence. Through the station's windows, they could see their ship glowing softly in its dock, no longer just a mysterious vessel but a key to humanity's true identity. "Ready for this?" Mike asked, echoing his earlier question from the space station, but now with much deeper meaning. Tom looked at his hands, wondering about the dormant power that supposedly flowed through his veins. "I guess we'll find out," he replied. "We've got 8 hours to rest, and then we make history." After 8 hours of rest that felt like both an eternity and an instant, Tom and Mike returned to their ship. The knowledge of their true heritage weighed heavily on their minds, but there was also a new sense of purpose in their movements. The final destination awaited. As they settled into their positions, the ship came alive with more energy than ever before. The displays glowed brighter, and Tom could swear he felt a warmth flowing from the controls into his hands. Now that he knew the truth, the connection felt even stronger. Final journey commencing. Ancestral home coordinates locked. Prepare for maximum dimensional shift. All systems ready, Mike reported, though his voice trembled slightly with excitement. Whatever power source this ship uses, it's operating at 110% capacity. It's like it knows we're heading home. The ship lifted smoothly from the waypoint station, and the familiar tunnel of light enveloped them once more. But this time, the patterns were more complex, the colors more vivid. Tom felt a tingling sensation in his hands as he guided the ship, almost as if something was awakening inside him. "Tom!" Mike called out suddenly. "Look at your hands." A soft glow emanated from Tom's fingers where they touched the controls, matching the energy patterns flowing around the ship. The same light began to shimmer around Mike as he worked at his station. Their dormant luminar heritage was responding to their proximity to their ancestors' home. The journey seemed both faster and more intense than before. The ship moved through dimensions with increasing speed, the boundary between vessel and crew blurring as their inherited abilities began to surface. They weren't just flying anymore, they were becoming one with the ship, just as their ancestors had done. Finally, after what felt like moments but had actually been hours, the ship emerged into normal space. Before them floated a planet that seemed to glow from within, its entire surface covered in cities that looked like crystal gardens. Countless ships similar to theirs moved in precise patterns around the planet, their pilots reaching out in welcome. A message appeared, different from the others. This one seemed to float in the air itself, formed from pure light. "Welcome home, children of Earth. The reunion begins. You have proven worthy of your heritage." As their ship glided toward a docking platform that emerged from the crystalline city below, Tom and Mike received their first direct communication from the Luminars themselves. Their voices came not through speakers, but directly into their minds, warm and filled with joy. "You have done well, taking the path of patience and wisdom rather than force and dominance. This was the key test, not just your ability to fly the ship, but your approach to power itself. Now we can begin sharing our knowledge with humanity, slowly and responsibly, through those who understand the importance of using it wisely." The ship settled onto the platform as hundreds of luminars gathered to greet them. Their forms glowed with the same light that now flickered within Tom and Mike, the power that had always been dormant in human DNA. "Ready for the biggest moment in human history?" Mike asked, standing beside Tom as they prepared to exit the ship. Tom looked at his glowing hands, then at the welcoming committee of their ancient ancestors. "You know what? I think humanity has been ready for this moment for the past 50 years. We just needed the right ship to show us the way." As they stepped out onto the crystal platform, Tom understood that this wasn't just a first contact mission anymore. It was a family reunion 50,000 years in the making, and the beginning of humanity's next great adventure. The ship that had started it all pulsed one final time with bright energy, its mission complete. It had delivered its human pilot home, bridging the gap between humanity's past and its luminous future.